Welcome to the Editor's Note Comics Podcast.
I think that this world, it needs men that are willing to make the hard call.
Central Maine's best comics podcast, by default.
Ain't no thing like me except me.
Here are your hosts, Zach and Jared.
Maps come with me. No. When do we start?
Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show.
Hey.
No, probably don't do Cosby references.
No, I was just saying, hey.
No, I
was not doing Fat Albert.
I think there's one person who has kind of a claim to hey, and maybe we should just let that one go.
Let's see, if I were doing Fat, it would have been hey.
Oh, jeez. Wrong on so many levels.
Hey now.
You're an all-star?
Hey now. That's a Howard Stern reference right there.
No. I went with Smash Mouth, the 90th band of the 90s.
Hey now, you're an all-star.
I'm not going to keep... I know the lyrics, but I refuse to continue them.
Oh, come on. You know you want to. You're tempted.
No, it's a terrible song.
Come on. You said it was the 90th song of the 90s.
I said it was the 90th band of the 90s.
Well, whatever. I still think it was a good song. It was an okay song until Shrek outplayed it, just wore it out.
The radio did that just fine, and then also it being terrible didn't help anything.
Both. Yeah, I've been on a recent kick, the last couple of days, of listening to a lot of Green Day.
I thought you were going to say, the Gin Blossoms. Some hate, jealousy, I don't know.
That was a couple weeks ago.
What other song do they have?
I don't know. I just put on Gin Blossom Radio or Hey Jealousy Radio on my Spotify. Maybe we can drive around this town.
Green Day still puts out stuff, I think.
It's been a while. I think the last one that I think they just put out another greatest hits album called God's Favorite Band or something. It's like a stained glass window of them.
I remember their lead singer went in for
Billy Joel
or alcohol.
Yeah, Billy Joe Armstrong. Yeah,
what do I know?
Speaking of sobriety, Eminem just celebrated.
Where is this going?
Eminem just celebrated his 11th year of being sober.
Good for him.
I know, that's crazy. I mean, it's good. It's absolutely good for him.
If you got to stay sober, good on him.
Yeah.
It's not usually what we talk about. We're not here to talk celebrity alcoholism.
You're on your 11th hour of being sober.
I don't know. So that's 8 a.m. is what you're inferring.
Yeah, little kombucha in your coffee.
Sounds disgusting.
Yeah, maybe a little. I don't know. Maybe you just had a mimosa.
You're thinking of Sambuca, by the way.
Oh yeah,
that's what I like in my coffee.
Sambuca,
not kombucha. No.
Oh, is kombucha a thing?
Yes.
What is it?
I don't know, but I think it's herby and gross.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I'm not going to claim that I know it.
Is it Friday yet?
No.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah, that's why, because of Avengers. I guess speaking of that, let's get into the news.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
It's time for the news.
Well, first of all, I have a question.
Okay.
Have you enjoyed having that large excavator outside the shop the last 2 days?
No.
Okay.
Right in front of me.
Are you having some sort of relapse into construction depression?
It won't be long this time.
That's what she said.
I think they're just doing the crosswalks and they're paving and then painting, and that shouldn't take that long.
You're hoping it doesn't take that long.
I hope. It already got pushed back because of late snow. So
yes. How do you've got the excavator on one side, you've got the rising river on the other. Is your anxiety high right now?
No, I just want it to be done.
Oh, the river or the road?
The river's not doing anything. It's just it's going down already.
Oh, okay.
Because if you live in Maine, you're still dealing with ice melting at this point in the almost summer.
Yeah. Well, it's not almost summer, and it's not almost summer until after Memorial Day weekend.
Avengers Endgame had its premiere, and also reviewers got to go to all their screenings.
Have they released the reviews yet?
Oh, literally, the embargo lifted, I think, less than an hour before we started, so I'm not going to say there's a consensus out there, but basically everything I've seen is positive.
Well, of course it's going to be positive.
The things I've seen were basically, boy, it's long, but it's really good. We knew that going into it, though. At least the long part. 3 hours is a lot of movie.
It is a lot of movie. It really, really is.
I haven't been to a 3-hour movie in a
lot can happen in 3 hours.
While.
I mean, if you think about the things that can happen in 3 hours, just talk to Gilligan and the captain and Ginger.
What a weird reference.
It's a great reference.
It's very dated.
The professor.
Cool.
A movie star and his wife.
Godzilla, King of Monsters had its final trailer. I think that's the next big movie coming out. Or at least in my world it is.
Yes.
It still looks great. I didn't really need this trailer.
No, but still, anytime you get to see Godzilla fighting something.
Yeah, I mean, we get better shots of Ghidorah than we've seen so far. And I like the idea of the military teaming up, because usually Godzilla movies have a formula where the military attacks the monsters and it does nothing. And the only thing that can beat a big monster is another big monster.
But how do they...
They're like, hey, we're going to help.
How do they commune with Godzilla to be like, fight for us?
It's just a force of nature, just kind of point him in the right direction.
Especially since, last time Godzilla was around, they tried to fight him.
Yeah, they said something about like unleashing. So I'm curious if like they kidnap him, capture him, or something. And there's all these like apocalyptic images. I'm sure it's just like a vision of the future, but it'd be really awesome if they just destroyed the world.
Well,
That sounds like a very expensive movie, though, than just shooting on location.
the things. Where's Michael Bay? Somebody get me Michael Bay, please. We need to destroy things.
Yeah, but he's never like committed to destroying the world. I want to see like a movie where the world gets destroyed halfway through, and then they have to keep fighting.
Oh, what about like the landmarks? Do you think he's gonna start with landmarks? It's always the landmarks that get. It's like, I'm glad we
That
don't live
feels
near.
tired.
But I'm glad we don't live near a major landmark.
Not really.
I was scrolling through YouTube the other day, and the algorithm popped up clips from the movie The Core,
Okay.
and it was the San Francisco. It was the Golden Gate Bridge melting.
That bridge gets destroyed in every movie.
Yeah. Actually, it didn't get destroyed in Star Trek, the reboot Star Trek.
Oh, they just crash near it.
Yes,
Didn't fully destroy it. Good
I
for
like
them.
it. It was a good swerve. You're like, oh, there goes the bridge. Oh, guess not. Can we also talk about like the engineering that obviously they feel like it's going to last into the 23rd century?
Oh, yeah, I guess. I mean, they can just keep updating it, I suppose.
And also, why do you need a bridge in the future where you have flying things?
Sure, not everything flies. That sounds expensive. It's probably cheaper to stay on the ground still.
It's the future. There's no the economics of being poor aren't there.
That's true. But I don't know.
Okay.
I thought it was a little weird in this trailer that they used like an updated Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Like, is that like an orchestral like metal Somewhere Over the Rainbow? Like,
It's very pianic.
No, it's just weird. So not only do they have that reference in there, then they have like the line like "one king to rule them all." Like, a lot of movie references in this trailer.
There were indeed.
This is a strange number of references.
Yeah. Also, what kind of crown would Godzilla wear? Or would he be the kind of king who's like, I don't wear the crown. I am the crown.
I mean, I think he's just a big lizard.
Yeah, with short arms, which has got to be detrimental in the fight, but he's got his nuclear breath.
Yeah, it certainly helps.
That's how I feel after eating hot wings sometimes.
More Avengers news, or kind of, in a roundabout way. Avengers Endgame isn't technically the end. Well, I mean, it's obviously they don't keep making Marvel movies, but for what they're putting their cap on for Phase 3, they're saying that Spider-Man Far From Home is really the end of the Phase 3 run, which they did last time, too. The end of Phase 2 was technically Ant-Man and not Age of Ultron, which seems very arbitrary.
Yes.
Like, there's nothing final. I mean, you didn't see Ant-Man. There's nothing final about Ant-Man. It's just a little heist movie. It's halfway decent. It's really saved by the charm of Paul Rudd.
I do love me some Paul Rudd.
I finished my rewatch, which, boy, that was tiring.
Of all of them?
I had to cheat a little bit, and I just brought, like, a Blu-ray player to the store, and so I, watched all of them.
Okay.
By watched, I mean a good number of them just played in my vicinity, and I counted it.
All right, that's fair.
Because there was no way. I tried, but
That's a lot of movie.
I tried after Captain Marvel, and it just... That's as close as I could get.
I mean, that's a lot of movie to watch in a relatively short period of time.
There's some stuff that I pick up that I never noticed before, and some other things that are, become a little more boring with time. Like, really glad the kind of 3D phase is over, because Captain America, the First Avenger, is all shot for 3D, like all the gimmick of it.
Yeah, well, did you watch it in chronological order, or did you watch it in release order?
Chronological.
Okay.
The first Thor movie is like half Dutch angles. It's really jarring.
Well,
and
I mean,
annoying.
That makes sense. Kenneth Branagh is a huge Shakespeare theater guy, so
No, it's just a 45 the 60s Batman TV show do all the time, where everything is just kind of shot at 45 degrees.
Oh, okay.
It's like half that movie. It's
my
very
head is
annoying.
usually cocked at a 45-degree angle, so it kind of probably looked normal to me.
I'm watching Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm like, this movie is saved by Paul Rudd's charm, but there's I don't think I even mentioned it at the time, but like way too much of, there's only one thing that can save this, and it has to be done right now. Then they get that, but there's only one thing in one place. And also there's a ticking clock, but we got to get the one thing. It's like that every 20 minutes.
Well,
yeah. Thank God Paul Rudd is just charming. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so Spider-Man Far From Home is going to be the end of Phase 3. Because nothing is technically announced after that.
Well, we know there's probably going to be another Doctor Strange movie, right?
I mean, the director is signed on for it, but they still haven't. There's
going
no
to be
date,
another
there's no
Guardians
nothing.
movie.
We know that, but that's still...
That's what I'm saying,
timing
man.
that is up in the air.
I'm saying Silver Surfer.
Black Widow's coming. We know Eternals. We know there's a third Spider-Man movie that Tom Holland signed on for, but the when of all of these and what other things are happening is very vague right now. I'm sure that their D23 celebration this year, they'll announce all that and do like a big slate.
I also feel like when Avengers is publicly consumed, it will actually probably... I'm really interested again in the post-credits scenes.
Yeah, I didn't really look at any of the reviews. I'm sure there's some, but I have no idea what they are.
Yeah, but I don't want to know.
No. Speaking of things in the future that were previously unknown, mentioned this before, that there's going to be a Valkyrie series that Jason Aaron and Al Ewing are going to be writing. Two of the best writers Marvel has right now, and the Valkyrie is going to be Jane Foster.
Really?
It's like when you fake enthusiasm, you don't care.
Nope, I don't.
But
I mean, good for the fans of the comic.
I'm all about this. I didn't really care that much, but it was like when they had like the writers on, I'm like, okay, Aaron and Ewing, I really like those guys. But then when they said it was Jane Foster just did like a 2-year stint as Thor, and it was fucking awesome. So getting her back with Jason Aaron writing her again, giving her some powers and flying around and being some kind of space Viking, do it. I'm going to read the hell out of that book.
Okay. Space Vikings are awesome.
I say read this book because it's going to be good.
All right. Noted.
J.J. Abrams has come out and said that there's more to the story than we've seen with Rey's parents.
Of course there is. I said this last week. Shocking.
I know. I never could have seen that coming.
Again, that's why I'm saying I feel like this is a course correct. There'll be some course correcting in the Star Wars.
I don't think there really will be, because even though like the movie is supposedly divisive, and I only say supposedly because it got like the best reviews out of any Star Wars movie, made over $1 billion. That doesn't seem that divisive. I mean, it's like if people are, say, screw what the critics say. They don't know what the fans say. If people are still counting their wallets, that movie is a fine success, and I don't think they want to, like, gosh.
Well, I think it's the fan service, not the actual. I liked the movie.
No, so do I.
I do kind of like the thought of Rey's parents being nobodies, like the kids on Canto Bright.
But I don't think, people are like, oh, it's course correction because it's J.J. Abrams. They made over $1 billion. I think they're fine.
They're going to make more than $1 billion with this movie, too.
Yeah. Like, well, Solo underperformed like that. I think that had very little to do with The Last Jedi.
No.
I think because no one cared about that movie, and there was also an oversaturation in the market at the time. And also that movie cost way too much to make because they reshot the whole damn thing.
How do you really feel?
And no one really wanted it.
And they still made $1 billion.
Not on that one.
Oh.
Not on Solo.
Oh, yeah, not that one.
Solo was a loss. It's fine. Good for taxes.
I want more Darth Maul. I have Darth Maul questions, and I want Darth Maul answers.
Well, we know that Obi-Wan Kenobi kills him in the desert later.
But I want to know what happens before that.
I don't know. There's a cartoon all about it.
Never mind, then. I don't have that kind of time. Digest it into a little 2-hour movie for me, please.
I don't know. When I've always said, like, I'm going to watch the Clone Wars eventually. Maybe when Disney Plus comes out, I'll actually do it. When that, service just consumes everyone's free time.
Yeah. It'll be like Thanos actually did snap in real life. Just people will be gone. Guys, I haven't seen Zach in a couple weeks. Oh, he's watching Disney Plus. Is he now?
I think that's everyone. Everyone is just going to recede into their homes.
I don't feel so good.
The Russo brothers are working on a Stan Lee documentary.
I like it.
Not a lot of detail about it. I'm not terribly surprised. There was talks for years about doing a Stan Lee biopic, one of those like sensationalized one, like DiCaprio wanted to play him.
Interesting.
Well, they were neighbors, and he also really likes comics.
That's fair.
But instead of doing, the biopic, which still, will probably happen someday.
Excelsior.
It might be the next couple of years. But yeah, they've officially announced that they are working on a documentary, which, cool. I'll do it.
All in.
I like a well-done comics doc. I've even watched some not well-done ones.
A com doc?
One of your heroes might be joining the Suicide Squad.
One of my heroes?
I don't know. John Cena.
Da 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 da.
I'm sure that's a wrestling thing.
We talked about that last week.
What?
You did mention this, that John Cena might be in this.
Oh, did I do this last week?
Or maybe no. I saw that somewhere. I feel the shows blend together.
I don't think I brought it up.
The only reason I know it's Tuesday is because I'm at your house.
I usually double check the dates on stuff for this exact reason.
Do you also double check the dates on the food in your refrigerator?
I'm fine with that.
I know I do.
Not everyone in this house is.
Are you throwing your wife under the bus?
I'm usually the one throwing the food out. Like, how old is? Oh boy.
Oh,
and she's like, well, I knew it was bad, so I bought another one.
I can appreciate that.
I can tell you right now, there are 2 things of cream cheese in there, and I got to check the dates on them.
Wow.
But I also got news for you. They're not fresh. I know that much.
Well, thank you for the update on your refrigerator.
To throw her under the bus a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I would say more than a little bit.
But she made my dinner tonight, so, that's appreciated.
So, yeah, well, she made it with the leftover cream cheese.
No.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Dave Bautista originally was up for this role, but he has a scheduling conflict, so I guess James Gunn is going to go for another wrestler turned actor.
Yeah.
I've never seen him in anything. I know he's done stuff. I know he did that comedy last year, like Blockers, and I know he did
Blockers was funny.
He did a Transformers movie, but I've never seen him.
He was in The Marine.
Again, falls under the heading of I've never seen it.
No, he's definitely transitioning to like more mainstream pop culture. He's going the way of The Rock.
If you can, great. If you can...
Yeah, it's much more stable work.
And there are so few wrestlers that seem to successfully do it.
Friend of the show, Dwayne Johnson. We haven't mentioned our friend of the show, Dwayne Johnson, in some time. He's working on like Jumanji 2.
He's working on like 87
He's got
things.
another Fast and the Furious movie coming out.
Oh yeah, there's a trailer for that. I'm not going to see it in theaters, but I might actually rent that one when it comes out because it looks so
fun.
Stupid.
Was that
amazing?
How long is the trailer's been out for a while? Is that the trailer that he like says I'm going to beat you like a Cherokee drum?
I think that was like a few Fast and the Furious ago because I remember you couldn't get over it.
I thought it was tremendously insensitive to the point where I chuckled. I believe your response was, "Wow, that even offends me."
Swamp Thing. All kinds of Swamp Thing news this week.
What?
Swamp Thing, the show coming to the DC Universe streaming service.
Sounds like the way you describe it that way, it's like a talk show with the Swamp Thing. Like he's there, today we have the Toxic Avenger on and joining Swamp Thing.
Oh, so much news around this. It had such a day, and some of it was definitely damage control, because at first it came out that it was being slashed from 13 episodes to 10 when they had completed 9 of them. So I bet that last one's going to be really good. They have to cram in all the plot points. But then I didn't even show you this because it's only like 10 seconds.
Oh, okay.
And everyone's like, well, that's terrible news. But then they released a teaser trailer, which it's like 30 seconds, and he comes out of the water and you see the costume for the first time. And to be fair, that looks amazing and spot on. But then more news came out.
Uh-oh.
Well, there's some people involved with the show that put some stuff up online that then took it down like immediately. And they all, of course it was screen grabbed because that's what happens.
Okay.
But it's come out that the future of the DC Universe streaming app is in question. It is probably going to get canned.
Wah, wah.
DC, or Warner Brothers, who owns DC, was recently bought by AT&T, and AT&T wants to be working on their own streaming service like everyone else is doing. And if they already have a sub-streaming service, then it's just a redundant thing, and they're trying to, gather everything back up.
I get calls daily from Spectrum wanting me to join their streaming service.
I get them not daily, maybe
feels
once a
daily at
month.
least. Maybe I get them quite often.
Just say put me on your do not call list.
I just don't answer. I just screen it.
Yeah.
Swipe left on that.
That's true. Yeah, if they're personal ones, I usually screen them. But I also, just from being at the store, and I get so many solicitation calls, I know pressing 2, 7, and 9 are the most common ones to be the do not call. So I just pick up the phone, and go 2, 7, 9, and then it goes boop 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 because it hung up on me.
Oh, I might try that next time I get a phone call.
2, 7, 9, baby. Most common ones. Sometimes 2 will lead you to a person, and then I just hang up. Like, I didn't mean to get you. Do not call list.
Sorry.
Hate you. But yeah, so this new streaming service app, which the people are like, we're adding more stuff, we're adding more comics. Now it looks like it's going away. Going the way of HD DVD.
Oh, that was a thing, wasn't it?
Being released and failing.
Wasn't that just like the light beer of Blu-ray?
I think they were about the same, but
It's like
Blu-ray
upscaling.
won.
Yeah.
A little more comics news. Uncanny X-Men, no one's surprised by this, will be ending at issue 22.
I'm shocked.
Well, because they just announced that the line was going to get relaunched with Jonathan Hickman's stuff with his House of X and Powers of X. And everyone's like, well, what about Uncanny? And they're like, ooh. And then a week later, they just axed it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Uncanny, how about Undone?
It's the flagship title. That name will be back many times over in the future, but this current iteration of it is Dunzo.
Yep. Time out. We're done. Game over.
Look, real talk, guys. This recent run, even though I am enjoying Uncanny right now and some of the Age of X-Men stuff, and they all have to do this months and months in advance. This has all been such a big failure because they tried to do kind of like this consolidation, wine-lied relaunch, and it was kind of a mess, and a lot of it wasn't very good. Some of it has been good. And then, like, right as they're getting their footing, they found out that a really talented and popular creator was willing to come back. They're like, scrap it all, doesn't matter. That was a waste of 6 months.
Yeah.
So I guess hop on Powers of X and House of X. And some of the Age of X-Men stuff is good, and Uncanny is decent right now. So, but yeah, it's all getting scrapped. It was one hell of a relaunch, guys. Couple months. Thank God you did those weekly books that everyone canceled on me. Sorry, I'm bitter.
I couldn't tell.
Acts of Evil with Marvel is starting in July. What is this, you ask? Well, it's villains getting matched up with heroes they don't usually fight. It's going to start off with 3 different one-shots. I think that's a fun idea, because everyone kind of has like their own... They've done this once before, at least a similar idea. But yeah, get people fighting characters they wouldn't normally see. Like, Spider-Man doesn't always have to find Electro. Someone else could. Don't know why I picked that villain, but I did.
Wow. Of all the villains you could have picked, you picked that one.
Spider-Man doesn't always have to fight the Shocker. Doesn't always have to fight Mysterio. Let someone else do it. But I'm all about it.
Bring Plant Man in.
Someone could fight Plant Man.
Damn right they could.
Anyone can fight Plimmin. Look out, a morning dew. That was still my favorite one.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard, that was going way back. We did some reviews of Strange Tales when Johnny Storm was the lead in the introduction of Plant Man, where he doused Johnny's flame with a light morning dew and defeated him, and it was sad. And then he made 2 trees box.
Yeah, he did. Fight for money.
And the last bit of news, because no one cares. I can't imagine anyone cares. Dark Phoenix had its final trailer.
I know, and it was so exciting.
I watched it a day or two when it came out. You're like, what happens? Like, I don't remember. It was so forgettable. I had to rewatch it right before the show. And
I've forgotten some of it since then.
yeah, I don't know. Jessica Chastain, I think that's who's in it. I think at this point, we've kind of learned that her character is the embodiment of the Phoenix, because in the books, the Phoenix has been a different entity than Jean. Even though in the last movie, they definitely showed that the Phoenix was in Jean at the end of Apocalypse.
Yes.
But now I guess it's not anymore.
It's a different...
So don't worry about that.
No.
She just happened to project a big fiery bird well before meeting a big fiery bird. What are the chances?
Well, also a big fiery death that appears like on the space shuttle.
Yeah, that's similar to what happens in the books. Like, they're coming back from a space station and she has to patch it up as it's going into the atmosphere, and radiation and fire kills her. The Phoenix is like, how about not being dead? And she's like, agreed.
I like that. Zombie Jean.
So they stuck her in the bottom of some bay for a while, and the Phoenix took over pretending to be Jean.
A Lazarus pit?
No, it was a cocoon in the bottom of a bay.
Interesting.
But then the Phoenix came back later and they merged bodies, also merging with a clone of Jean named Madeline.
Did the sun shine on this bay?
I mean, no one was sitting in the dock of it, to the best of my knowledge.
No, you missed that one. That's not what I was going for.
Wow. I went with my own bay.
Did the lights go down on that city?
No.
Still don't get it yet?
No, I'm not.
You're not getting it?
I'm blanking on this one, I'm sorry.
It's only one of their most famous songs.
The Bay?
When the lights go down in the city and the sun shines on the bay.
You doing a Journey song?
Damn right I am.
Okay.
Ha ha!
Great.
You call yourself a fan.
I do not. I've called myself the opposite of a Journey fan many times.
Oh, you mean an asshole?
I don't really like Journey.
Well, that's... You know what? I support I support your right to be wrong.
It was one of those bands I thought people just liked ironically for a long time. Then I realized everyone actually seemed to enjoy it. I'm like, oh, who knew?
Not I. I love Journey.
But that'll wrap up the news. We'll go from gold balls to curve balls.
Oh, there you go. See, that wasn't bad.
That's an X-Men character,
but
by
also,
the way.
gold balls are what you win at the end of a championship season. So.
Gold balls is an X-Men character.
Gold balls is probably also what Goldmember had in the movie Austin Powers. I love gold.
From gold balls to curve balls, we are moving on to Jared's sports reports.
All this talk of balls is disconcerting.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. Bare-chested. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
It's time for another Jared Sports Report.
I have an interesting statistic for you, Zach. As you know, the Celtics, they swept the Pacers.
I am aware.
The Bucks, they swept their...
The Pistons.
The Pistons. So the Celtics' biggest win in the first round against the much maligned Indiana Pacers, who have a terrible offense, was 10 points. The Bucks' smallest win in the first round, 16 points.
Yeah, but people were pointing that out, I saw, but there's a reason for that too. Because especially in the game where they only had that 10-point lead, because they were up over 20-something. So just to make sure that no one got injured, all of the garbage time players got to go in at the end who aren't going to get any minutes for the rest of the playoffs.
But I'm saying that the statistic bears out that the Bucks are playing really good. It's going to be
No, they are. They are playing well. But that statistic is not factoring in the fact that Brad Stevens just went, you, end of the bench. You're all in. Everyone good. You're out.
Yeah, but the Bucks' smallest margin of victory was 16 points.
I don't think they did anything like that, though.
Probably. Well, who knows? Still,
I certainly didn't watch.
They're very beatable. They're very beatable. But as Sean Grandy tweeted, they're like Ivan Drago, beatable. But if not, death from above.
Giannis is the best player in the league. Period.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be fun. This first series wasn't very interesting to watch.
This next one's you're gonna be on the end of your seat
and the edge of it.
And edge of your. I don't even know why you have a couch because you're not gonna sit in it.
I can't wait. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah. So
they beat them last year in the 7-game series, but Celtics also had home court last year during that.
Yeah, not this time around.
No, and I love watching Twitter. Like everyone's like, "Well, my team is they're better than this. Well, they're worse than this." It's just this big back and forth, and I'm just like, I bet it's gonna be fun.
You could have just said
a good time.
You just could have said Twitter. It's a big back and forth, and you would have been accurate. You could have left it there. Could be anything.
I mean, obviously, I want them.
I've seen people argue about the right cookedness of toast. To which I had a student say that, he said, you know what toast is? I'm like, what? He's like, delicious. Do you know what things that aren't toast are? I'm like, what? He goes, raw bread.
I mean, my preseason predictions could still be possible. I said out of the gate that I thought it was going to be Celtics Raptors and then Celtics against Golden State. That could still happen.
It's still very possible.
They're all teams that they've all beat each other. There's no.
It'd be nice to have another Boston-Toronto series.
Yeah,
because that's happening now. Hockey. By the time this comes out, we'll know that if the Bruins won or lost their Game 7. They're up 2-1 as we record this. Yes.
I see you were checking your phone because that was not what it was when we came downstairs.
No. Well, I mean, I love playoff hockey. I want to keep abreast of what's going on. I'm hoping to get home in time for the third period, or at least the last part of the third period. So let's see what else. The Red Sox have kind of turned a little bit of a corner. The Yankees have like 12 people on their injured list, which is ridiculous. Other interesting sporting. Oh, the NFL draft is this weekend. It starts on Thursday. So that's always an ever exciting time in the world of professional sporting things and football. Do
you know any of the people coming up?
A little bit. I haven't really. I'm kind of torn on what my number one overall pick is going to be, or should be, or would be. But I think it's an interesting draft class for certain. Not really sure who is going to go number one overall. Well, it'll be the Arizona Cardinals have the first pick. Everyone thinks they're going to go with Kyler Murray, the quarterback. Who else were they talking about? Oh, maybe some trades, too, for the Cardinals. But they're on the clock, so we'll find out on Thursday evening. And I'm trying to think of any other interesting sporting pieces or tidbits. I can't really.
I haven't really been watching the Western Conference playoffs, mostly because they're on really late.
Yep, that's accurate.
It looks like it's going to come down to Rockets Golden State, though, to the surprise of
nobody.
Literally no one.
Yeah, nobody. Outside of that, I can't really think of anything.
The West isn't that interesting. We know where the West is going to go.
There's a really good 60 Minutes piece about the Golden State Warriors and the run that they're having, and it's really...
This will probably be the final year, hopefully.
Probably. I don't know. I mean...
When everyone decides they want to go run their own team.
Yeah, well, it'd be 3 in a row, too.
Yeah.
A feat that has not been done since the Chicago Bulls.
No, didn't Lakers have 3 in a row?
I don't think they three-peated.
I can't remember.
I think
they had 3 real close together.
3 out of 4 or
maybe.
4 out of 5 or something like that, but I don't know.
I don't think it definitely wasn't as much as 4 out of 5.
Maybe it was a 3-peat. I can't remember. Still, they're the best team.
It doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
And I hope someone takes them down.
Here's to ending dynasties. I think that's about it for Jared's sports reports.
Well, from there, since, the clock is ticking, because we got Avengers Endgame this week, but not that long after, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. So to prep for that, we are moving on to a good old-fashioned review.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret. I'm always angry.
It's time for an Editor's Note podcast review.
Usually when these things roll around and it's some kind of first appearance of a villain, we'll usually go back to the comic book and talk about their origin there. But I thought for a change of pace, we would go to an adaptation of the comic book and do a thing we've never done before. The Spider-Man 60s TV show.
Yeah, it's the first time we've ever watched it. The meme generator of all meme generators.
It is. The show came out in 1967. We were watching, I think this is episode 5.
It was episode 3.
3. Oh, I think it was 5 for the other one. The Menace of Mysterio, because this episode, it's an adaptation of Amazing Spider-Man number 13, which came out in 64, so this is only 3 years later, that being done by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. But then this same story was redone yet again in the 1994 animated Spider-Man series, also called The Menace of Mysterio.
Fishbowl.
Now that is my background information on this one.
All right.
I mean, everyone knows the thing about this 60s show is the theme song.
Spider Pig, Spider Pig.
It's pretty timeless.
It is.
I mean, it's not. It sounds pretty dated, but at the same time, it's fun.
Remember when Aerosmith covered it?
No.
Yeah, they covered for the first Sam Raimi movie. It's on the soundtrack.
Oh, I guess I didn't hear that. I mean, theme song is being used as like the orchestral theme for the new Spider-Man movies. Like, it's so classic.
Oh, it's
like,
wonderful.
We're not doing better than this, and it sounds great.
It used to be my phone ringtone. Remember when phone ringtones were a thing? Like, you'd like...
Yes.
Yes, I had that for quite a while.
They're all really annoying. Do you remember callback tones? Where you call someone like they would have a song that would play back at you?
Oh, yeah. A lot of times, like classical music or something. Please enjoy this ringback tone while your call is being placed.
No, the people I knew, it was all just like horrible hair metal bands.
Come on, not all hair bands are
I didn't
terrible.
say that.
Speaking of hair bands, White Lion, who's saying Transformers, that was your text theme for the longest time.
That was annoying.
Yeah, especially when you didn't put it on vibrate. We're trying to sleep in a cabin in the woods, and all those Transformers. Okay, time for Transformers. Hope your damn phone transforms into something that kills Transformers.
I was so happy that night because I just kept on texting. It just kept happening. Everyone was so mad. It was one of those things that just...
We started preemptively guessing what was going to happen. Like, we'd say, Transformers.
I couldn't have been happier because everyone was so annoyed. It just
you-
got funnier and funnier.
For you. But you're like the self-proclaimed, you've never really been a Transformers guy.
No, I liked the animated movie was fun.
So that's why you went with that ringtone? Just because? Or
Probably there's just...
You're like, I'm going to pick out something that's just catchy yet annoying and then go hang out with a couple of my best friends and let it go off 100 times while they're trying to go to sleep.
I was texting.
Have you ever heard of Vibrate or Silent?
Did that exist back then? This is like 2000.
Yeah, of course it did.
I don't remember.
Yes, it did. The technology to download and have a custom ringtone existed. So did Vibrate.
I don't remember.
Vibrate has existed for some time.
But the other part of Spider-Man that everyone knows, aside from the really catchy theme song, is the animation.
Also shocking that you would choose this because I know that you have a distaste for this style of animation.
It's very cheap and it's very slow. They don't... I mean, whenever there's a background, I'm surprised.
It's just a static.
It's usually just like a color.
Like the scene where Spider-Man punches Mysterio down the bar in the
we'll get
TV set.
I want to get
and
into
nothing
all that
moves
stuff.
except for Mysterio.
But it's really cheap, and no, I don't really enjoy this kind of stuff. This is an interesting experiment just because I never really watched this show. But the fight scenes move so incredibly slow, and they're so stilted. Like, they'll throw a punch, and then they'll talk about it for a minute, and then they'll throw another very slow-moving punch and talk about it for a minute while they're very static and not moving.
Their fight on top of the Brooklyn Bridge.
Very slow. I'm sure if I was alive in the 60s and I liked this stuff, I'd be watching it just because,
you're cranked up on peyote.
I didn't find it very entertaining. I found it interesting as a piece of history, but I certainly don't want to watch this show.
It was I agree. It's an interesting bit of history. I'm sure there's some funny stuff to it. It just, like you said, the action was kind of like come and go. Like you said, it's a punch. Then they explain the punch. Mysterio breaks all of the villain rules. He soliloquies. He gives up his secret plan not once but twice.
And his identity.
But we're also glossing over the biggest piece of all of this. J. Jonah Jameson takes out a hit on Spider-Man.
We'll get to the plot.
There is no plot to this. It's very thinly veiled.
I imagine, though, making this show was probably pretty easy, not just aside from like the cheapness of it, but as far as these guys were concerned, and I'm sure there are variations that go off, or maybe there aren't, I don't even know, but they could just mine from the comic books. Like, they could just go, because most of the comics back in the 60s were, one and dones. They would just go, okay, that's an episode, like, here's this, just turn it into a script. Story's already done, don't worry about it. We have to pay you less now.
Yes, cut and paste.
But the way this opens up is we see Spider-Man outside of a building with a big bag of stuff.
Yay, big bag of stuff.
And the police are chasing after him. Spider-Man hits some of the cops with his big bag and escapes.
And he zips around buildings with those classic 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s sound effects. I can't do one.
So classic.
But you know what they're like, whoop, when he goes around a corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of.
I think the character that I like most in this is probably Jameson, because he's all up. It's like 6 a.m. He's like, where are all my reporters? This is the biggest news story of the century.
But somehow it's on the front page of his paper, so somebody did the work. Just saying.
And they're just like, it is 6 a.m. He's like, so why is no one here?
We're on the hunt for a criminal.
Spider-Man. Now that in his mind, now that Spider-Man has committed a crime, like, the gloves are off.
Also,
he can finally prove that he's a menace.
Also, like, J. Jonah Jameson calls Peter Parker at his house and then later on calls him a teenager. Why is he calling a teenager at 6 a.m? Shouldn't Spider-Man / Peter Parker be going to school?
Yeah, at this point in the story, he still would have been in high school, but he was still doing freelance stuff at the time.
Yeah, well, at 6 a.m., there are child labor laws. Does Jameson not know this?
He calls up Peter. He's like, Spider-Man committed a crime, and now we can finally prove he's a menace. And Pete just starts talking to himself. He's like, I couldn't have done it. I was here the whole time.
Unless I'm developing a...
Wasn't I?
Split personality.
Oh, you're an idiot.
Like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Fun literary reference. I'm like, no.
Thanks for mansplaining to us, Peter.
So Jameson's all hopped up on this idea that Spider-Man's a criminal. Mysterio calls him.
And cranked up on some peyote.
Mysterio calls him out of the blue. He's like, I also love, I doubt it was intentional, but I definitely feel like everyone who acted in the show was a New Yorker because they all had New York accents.
Also, why is he calling from what obviously is like a rundown house that looked like it belonged to the Goblin?
I don't know.
because there's the goblin mask in the background.
Well, his whole thing is he works in special effects in movies, so it's probably just a mask he made.
Yeah, well, fair enough.
But he calls up Jameson. He's like, if you want to kill Spider-Man, pay me some money and I'll do it. And Jameson just takes him up on it. He's like, sure, I'll be an accessory to murder.
Yeah. Also, like, Mysterio
and finance
calling to be like, hi, I'm starting a GoFundMe for killing Spider-Man and I need some cash.
Jameson agrees to it. Mysterio,
because he's a psychopath.
I love it. I love that he just takes out a hit.
You love that he takes out a hit on Spider-Man?
I love that he gets a call out of the blue. Somebody's like, I'll kill him. He's like, who are you? He's like, Mysterio. He's like, normal name, so it's fine. I'll pay you.
Yeah. Sight unseen.
There's a fight. It's not very fun. It's really boring.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man escapes. This, by the way, this is on top of the Brooklyn Bridge. And I love his escape. He jumps into the water and he makes a straw out of his webbing to breathe underwater. That's amazing.
Also, you forgot the part where he goes into the sewer and seals up the manhole cover and says, this has Spidey's seal of approval.
He does. My favorite part a lot of times is when he makes bad puns. Like, this is clearly just an animated character.
And he's totally breaking the fourth wall and doing it.
He'll still turn to camera when he does it. Like, wow, you guys couldn't afford to animate anything more, but you can make him turn to camera to make puns.
Well, I'm sure that probably the turn to camera was a stock animation that they used multiple times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even this episode, they reuse some animation.
So, yeah, they fight on top of the Brooklyn Bridge, and Spidey fakes his death.
Mysterio comes into the Daily Bugle, where he tells Jameson, he's like, he's dead. He's like, but no one's found the body. And this is also in front of a bunch of employees. He's like, I refuse to pay you for this murder until they find a body.
Including Peter Parker.
So Mysterio leaves. He's like, when it comes up, I'll get my money. He doesn't really put up that much of a fight.
Also, Jameson rips the money in half.
Yeah. It also doesn't work. Like, if you have more than 50% of the bill, that still counts.
Yes.
So I guess he gave Mysterio the utterly worthless half.
Or if he cut it directly in half, he got free money. Although that's why there's a serial number on both sides of the bill, so you can't do that.
Fun facts.
There you go.
Oh, so Peter, he says this is a small device. He slips about a, 18-inch spider tracer on Mysterio. Really hard to see.
Yeah, on his cape.
He's like, I'll follow him. Because, they all have that old-timey voice.
This handy-dandy transistor radio.
I love that. So then he follows Mysterio in his Spider-Man costume. He is carrying a massive, handheld radio. It'd be like the size of, I guess a really hefty handheld radio.
Yes.
Giant antenna. He's like, the signal's coming from in here. And he just puts it into his costume, and then he pulls out another massive device. This is a skin-tight costume. Yeah, tape recorder, which is
out
even
of his
bigger.
pocket. I didn't know he had pockets in his costume.
His skin-tight costume. He also later pulls out a full gas mask. Where is he keeping these?
Also, when he pulls out that gas mask and Mysterio melts it off his face with that chemical, how is he not dead? How is the rest of him not melting?
It only melts the mask.
Apparently, I've made this special mask melting compound. Yes.
But this is actually my favorite part of the episode. So
when they fight in the TV bar.
Yeah, they fight, and it's on a film set because Mysterio is the world's greatest stuntman, which also is how Spider-Man figures out who he is, because he just goes, I'm not the world's greatest stuntman for nothing, and he goes, haha, now I know who you are. I'm like, to be fair, that could be many stuntmen. He could just be blowing smoke up your ass.
He's blowing smoke everywhere else. Yeah. More importantly, Mysterio is a bad criminal at keeping his secret identity, and is he soliloquies. He gives up what he's done. I'll tell you the plan. Yes, it was me who framed you. What an idiot.
Giant tape recorder. Slide that back into my
This character
costume.
makes Plant Man look like friggin' Lex Luthor.
But what I love that's so great about this is on a film studio, and this whole episode has looked really cheap, and the animation has not been exciting at all. But then they go to this film studio, and Spider-Man punches Mysterio through a door, and they go onto a Western set, and all of a sudden the animation kicks up in quality in a big weird way.
Can we talk about before that, though? We get a whole scene of this Western movie that I want to know more about. This guy kicks the doors of the saloon open, and this saloon dancer's like, the sheriff's coming for you. He's like, I hope so. He's no match for me.
Wasn't that all of a sudden?
I want to know more about the friggin' Western.
There are backgrounds, there are new characters who are clearly just made for this episode that aren't stock. I'm like, what is happening here? Why are we suddenly... I feel like they were more interested in the scene.
Also, the woman's voice was very manly.
But then Spider-Man beats him, and Jameson is sad that he didn't get to help with a murder.
Yeah, the knockout blow is punching him into a chair. And then he's leaning up against a railing or a banister, and I can't remember what his catchy line was.
I don't remember. I didn't write these down.
But then then Spider-Man goes and he literally harasses Jameson. You will retract this, and he's waving the paper in his face. And then...
Stop saying I'm a menace, and I won't turn you in for attempted murder.
Yeah. And then he hangs him up by a web.
Yeah, why not?
Also, Jameson, how does he not figure out that Spider-Man knew that there was a hit on him? Like, if Jameson was smart and be able to put it together, like, I never said I was out to kill Mysterio, having Mysterio kill him. I've read this issue before. I haven't read it in, I don't know, maybe Jameson might be the most inept news editor in the history of comedic.
He's so much fun.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt, he's hilarious. But
even in the early days of the comics, if there was a way to go about finding Mysterio's origin, this is definitely not it. It's definitely definitely go back and see, Steve Ditko's artwork. That will be a million times better than anything you find in this episode. But it's I just wanted to switch it up, do a Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
27 minutes and 30 seconds to kill. Go for it.
Yeah, this does fall into that realm of why I don't like Hanna-Barbera stuff. It's not the only reason I don't like Hanna-Barbera stuff, but I hate the style of animation. So choppy. They barely move. It's just one cell moving across the screen.
Oh yeah, how he swings into down the street afterwards.
Or they're zooming in on one image. It's a lot of static
Also,
images.
the way he swings with his legs splayed open like a
that's my
spread eagle figure star.
Webbing on one side, webbing on the other, legs wide open and just straight down the middle.
He's got it.
Doesn't seem aerodynamic.
There could be some chafing going on in the suit. He's airing out.
I don't know. This is fine, but it's not good. I'd say go back to the source versus the adaptation.
Or if you're like me and you'd rather just watch something casually, go for it. So if you're hardcore comics guy, go back and get the book.
Number 13, baby.
There you go.
But I guess that'll do it for Mysterio for now, until we see him in a couple of months. And it's not even that long. It's June?
Something like that.
June,
That's
July?
8 weeks, something like that.
It's getting close. Either way, we'll be seeing Mysterio mighty soon in Spider-Man Far From Home.
But before that, we're going to see Earth's Mightiest Avengers.
I guess that means Spider-Man survives this movie. What a shock.
Again, I still think it would be hilarious. Even the biggest ruse of all time, it was a fake trailer.
But, I don't think Disney's going to kill off a multi-billion-dollar character.
Probs not.
No, I'd be bold.
It would be very bold.
From there, we are moving on to your questions and letters to the editors.
Now for my favorite part of the show. What's that say? Talk to the audience. Oh, God, this is always death.
Here's another one of your letters to the editors.
If you want to ask us questions, you can write in at editorsnotecomics@gmail.com or send them over Facebook or Twitter. And I think we've done, if you've ever written a thing, and I don't think we've ever skipped one. So if you have something you want to get asked, it'll get asked.
And we'll answer it.
Yeah, that's the word I was
If
looking
you have
for.
something you want answered, ask it and we'll answer it.
We'll get around to it eventually. A two-parter this week. How long until something can get rebooted, and what calls for a reboot?
I don't know, Zach. How long?
It's not a setup.
I don't know.
How long is it? Well, not very.
So long. 3 hours.
At this point, really, we've seemed to have just dropped off on the idea of reboots to immediately if something fails. I remember when it doesn't even seem like it's been that long since this has changed. I feel like the last year it's really picked up speed. I remember when that King Kong movie was announced, the 2017 one, people were like, another King, we just got one. That was 12 years ago. But then Spider-Man got rebooted in less than 2.
But I think a lot of it depends on who owns the rights to it. I mean, if you own the rights, so correct me if I'm wrong, let's say you own the rights to property A, and then you sell me the rights to property A, and I want to reboot it. I would imagine there has to be some period of time in between.
No, as soon as rights change hands. I mean, that's what happened with another one that they're rebooting partially because of failure, partially because of rights reverting, the Terminator movies.
Oh, okay.
We had one of the worst movies I've ever seen in was it 2015 or 2016? I don't remember. I think it was 2015, the last one, when they had Terminator Genesis, and that bombed horribly, but then the rights reverted back to Cameron, and they immediately went, nope, scrapping it. But that's even a weird one, because they're scrapping some of them. Not all of them, just some of them. Actually, most of them.
Cherry picking the good stuff.
3 through 5 never happened. Which I also think means audiences need to pay more attention to pop culture than they've had to in the past. I think Marvel's done a good job of kind of training mainstream audiences to pay attention to serialized storytelling, but now it's this is Terminator 6. No, it's not. It's Terminator 3. The window for reboots seems to be
infinite,
non-existent.
Infinite yet minuscule.
People seem to like really not want one for a long time, and
I would think if like if it's really good, it doesn't need a reboot. But if like the Amazing Spider-Man reboots, I didn't hate them.
They had to do that for contracts.
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff like that where Amazing Spider-Man had to get made because if they didn't make a Spider-Man movie, the rights would revert back to Marvel. And that was, same reason why they made that 1994 Fantastic Four movie. Like, we got to hold on to our rights.
Yeah.
They had to fight for their right to make terrible movies.
Yes.
And to party.
Well, of course. Did their dads just throw out their best porno mag?
I don't.
Or mom threw out the porno mag, but living at home is such a drag.
I think your dad was just yelling about getting a job.
Yeah. And something about, cut that hair. Are those the clothes you're going to wear? I'm more like the teacher. I preach class like I'm some kind of jerk.
Like?
Skip 2 classes and no homework.
I think the window is non-existent now. I mean, Dark Tower just failed, and they're already doing an Amazon series out of it. Like, nope, that didn't work. Taking a second bite of this apple.
Game of Thrones, that shit.
I think a series on Amazon will work better, but there is no window anymore. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It kind of, I don't know.
I feel like there maybe should be, like, if we tried something and it sucked, evaluate why it sucked. Don't just jump back to try and fix it immediately. Oh, yeah, that was terrible. Let's see if you like this. And you run the risk of being even shittier.
I think the market right now is just immediately turning over, but I imagine it will stop eventually. I feel like audiences will get sick of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Hellboy just suffered that, and that's been a long while since we had one of those, but no one cared. Everyone's like, I like the old ones.
Sometimes that's the danger of a reboot. Sometimes you just gotta let sleeping dogs lie.
No way anyone could have predicted that, though. If someone's like, oh, we're doing Hellboy. Hellboy's popular. I don't think a lot of people were going to say, like, it's going to fail. Like, every comic book movie, except for, like, that and Fantastic Four made money.
I think
in recent years.
I think this Hellboy was up against it, though, a little bit, too, and I meant to mention this last week, because Hellboy 2 leaves you with kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
With the fact that,
I definitely
they're going to have
mentioned
twins.
that.
Yeah. But, like, to reiterate that, like, probably doesn't need a reboot when there's a story to be finished and the fans didn't get to find out what happened at the end.
As to
like, wouldn't you be pissed if there was no Avengers Endgame, like Thanos snapped, half people died, and they're like, oh, you know what, we're going to reboot the Avengers. We're going to have the new Avengers
That
now.
happens sometimes.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want to, like...
Yes, of course you want that, but you don't really have control over it.
No, but I mean, wouldn't you be pissed off a little bit?
It's happened before. There's been plenty of stories that end with cliffhangers that just never get finished. It wouldn't be the first time. It certainly won't be the last.
Yeah, but I mean...
As to what constitutes
You're moderately well-adjusted at times, perhaps. You're not going to go on the internet and decry things because of it.
No, I don't really like sharing on the internet anyway.
You really don't like sharing anyway.
That's true. I don't know why I had to put the internet there.
Yeah, exactly. Zach, I'm dying of thirst. Yeah, well, I have water and you don't, so there.
What constitutes a reboot? Money. I mean, that's the real answer. But the less cynical side of me would say fuck-ups and nostalgia.
There's also a new Rambo coming out.
There is. That's
Rambo
not a
5.
reboot, though. That's just a sequel. But if they screw up a franchise so bad like Terminator...
But it could eventually, a long enough... Like, would you call Creed a sequel or a reboot?
I call it a sequel. It's also its own series.
See, so it's kind of a both. It's a squeeboot.
Yeah, I mean...
A requel.
Yeah, people use that term. I don't like it.
I just thought I came up with it on the spot.
No.
Requel?
Yeah, it's bad.
I don't hate it. It's better than sequeboot, squeeboot.
I mean, the other one is nostalgia. You get people trying to remake things that they think that people have a twinge in. Like, maybe they're like, well, I liked this as a kid, so maybe someone, then people my age will want to bring their kids to it. And sometimes it's really stupid ideas, like the Pink Panther. Are those reboots anyone was really dying for?
No.
And there were 2 of those.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's built into our brains. Think about like James Bond.
See, that's like a series. Like
those are all reboots.
Are they though?
Yes, 100%.
Or do you believe in the theory that the title of James Bond just passes from agent to agent?
No, because that was debunked like 2 movies ago.
But how can it be a reboot if there were some carryover characters like M?
It's still a new universe.
Interesting theory. So you're saying when Judi Dench went from Pierce Brosnan to Daniel Craig,
different M.
My mind hurts. My brain it aches. I'm going to have to go home and reevaluate my life.
Yeah, you do that. But while you're doing that, you can sign up for Patreon.
Yes, go to patreon.com/editorsnotecomics for $1 a month. You get this show a whole day early. Plus, you get Patreon exclusive reviews of Buffy and Angel and Firefly.
Oh, that's the first week.
Woo! Spoiler and spoiler-free reviews of those books weekly or whenever they come out from Zach.
I got to do one right after this.
Oh, okay. So that's why you're like shuffling me out?
No, I'm just ran out of things to say.
Me too, actually. I'm already on to Friday. We're on to Friday.
I'm not. I don't like to bloat the show for no reason. If I
That's fair.
let it run its course.
There's enough bloat you've been releasing tonight during the show. I feel bad for the next co-host that comes down here. The one that you threw. I'm totally going to tell her you threw her under the bus in the show.
She probably heard it.
But yeah, patreon.com/editorsnotecomics. $5 a month gets you to be a Duke or Duchess of the podcast. And Sound Guy, whom we're having drinks and dinner with on Friday before we go see Avengers, will make you sound famous.
Everything you want can be found on the website, editorsnotecomics.com, and you're on Twitter.
At Junior Rich. Also, stop by the store, 210 Water Street in Hollowell. There's
yeah.
a brand new granite crosswalk in front.
I forgot, yeah, and I'm also doing that sale. I should have mentioned that up
Yeah,
front.
30% off everything except for new books.
And a raffle.
And a raffle for the complete Hellboy Omnibus.
Yeah, the library editions, volume 1 through 6, $10 for one ticket, 20 for 3.
I thought it was 15 for one and 30 for 3.
No, I changed it.
Oh, okay. There you go. So the people bought it for $15.
No, that everyone with those situations, don't worry.
Oh, you took care of them?
Yeah.
Oh, what a guy.
I was going to be like, it's cheaper now.
It's like a $300 value too, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else important for the story. That goes all the way through
May 4th. Free
4th.
Comic Book Day.
May the 4th be with you.
Free Comic Book Day. But yeah, we'll be back next week. You know what we're doing.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Season 1, Episode 4 of Spider-Man 1967.
Boo.
The Endgame is here.
All right, we'll be back for Endgame.